Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda CRZ, and it's the top of the range GT model. This particular car is registered HV60JTU, and with a mileage of just 66,654 recorded. The reason for all of our videos, and as I always say, especially actually this road test section, is to ensure that if anyone's looking at any of our cars actually advertised, they actually get to see the advertised cars in operation. And the reason we feel it's important is because we've been to see lots of cars, as so many people have, which looked perfectly good in photographs and in description, but only to get there and find out it's got a fundamental issue which you'd much rather known about before setting off. So hence that's why we do it. We also do it on these very quiet country roads very close to our premises, and this actually forms part of the road test route we take our customers on, so the theory being that it should be representative of what you would feel yourself should you be offered a test drive in the car. So coming to the car, I'm a complete fanboy for these cars. I love them, but I'm going to go through the obvious mechanical stuff as I always do, and I'll try to some degree to rein in my enthusiasm for the car. So coming to the engine and hybrid system, press the button, it whirs silently into life. They don't have a starter motor or such on the cars. Car starts instantly and settles to a smooth, even idle without any warning lights on the dashboard at all relating to the engine or any other part of the car. It is a brilliant system. It's referred to now cunningly by the manufacturers as a self-charging hybrid system. The reason for that is obviously there's, with electrification and kind of the potential for what they refer to as range anxiety, they're kind of latching onto that, and I've experienced it, so I do know what they're all about. Basically, you run this car like any normal car. You just put fuel in, gets low on fuel, you put more fuel in, and that's it. The relatively small hybrid battery is there to kind of help with kind of low down torque, fuel economy. It's brilliant in the way it operates, and it's utterly seamless. You don't even realise it's operating. That's how good it is. As is the norm, or what is norm now, but certainly wasn't at the time, you get three modes of driving on the car. In terms of the engine, you got Econ, Normal and Sport, and the car generally defaults into Normal, which is kind of a halfway house between the two. Econ is obviously it's promoting more battery use, more economy from the engine. It softens the throttle pedal and the steering. In my opinion, for the open road, probably too much. I find it too slovenly, too slow to respond. It's actually okay around town, but as I say for every CRZ video I do, I am brutally honest in the sense that when I first had one of these, I actually didn't get on with it, and it was nothing to do with the car. The car was fantastic, but I was trying to drive everywhere, trying to get the absolute last drop of fuel out of it, MPG, chasing the manufacturer's figures, and kind of ruined the experience for me. Subsequent ones I've had, I literally get into the car, flick it into sport mode, because the small amount you lose in fuel economy is completely disproportionate to the extra vigour and verve, and it's just totally in keeping with the car. Suddenly you've got much sharper throttle response, steering weight's up. It's as the car should be, in all honesty, but that's a personal preference. But the engine sings beautifully, as all four-cylinder Honda engines do. When you put your foot down, it's got that lovely induction noise, and it's smooth and sophisticated in the way it does it. Engine then feeds through into the clutch and gearbox. The clutch and car is perfect, as you expect with mileage. Smooth, bike points exactly where it should be. And then you're greeted to one of the best manual gearboxes you'll ever use. It is brilliant, and I mean that. And again, as I pretty much always say, I rank that third in terms of manual gearboxes. The top two still taken by Honda. I think the S2000 is the best gear change I've ever used. And then closely followed by the DC2 Integra. For mechanical feel, it's just brilliant. But then this is absolutely fantastic. It's a gearbox that is designed so it adds to the driving experience and pleasure rather than detracts, as so many do. So when you going up the gears, short, snappy, beautifully weighted, absolutely precise. It's just brilliant. It really is. And that feels exactly as it would have done when it was new. There's no wear in it at all. So coming to the steering, first and foremost, the whole car feels as tight as a drum on the road. Steering tracks absolutely dead straight. There's no vibrations at the speed or any speed up to the legal limit. And the same goes with the suspension. There's no noises, no knocking noises, no clattering, no creaks or groans. So all in very, very fine order. But that's only half the tale, because I describe this car in the adverts, generally speaking, as feeling like an 80s or 90s hot hatch. And what I mean by that is I think that modern hot hatches have become quite fat. They're brilliant. They're hugely efficient. They've got tons of grip, but they feel weighty. They feel slightly numb. And to get any kind of fun out of them, you've got to be driving at ludicrous speeds. Whereas this is light on its feet. It loves to change direction. As soon as you turn the wheel, it goes. The steering, the chassis moves as one. As I said, it's just got that feeling that it's kind of eager, and at all speeds, it has that sensation as well. It doesn't become kind of nervous at speed at all, but it's very kind of chuckable in a really nice way. So just go around the corner. But the difference between this and cars of that vintage is the fact that they can, when you back off, they can still rattle your brains. This is incredibly smooth riding. It's beautifully damped. When you're not in the mood, you can be cosseted. It really is fantastic. But just go through these corners. It is absolutely fantastic. It really is. Just need the brakes a bit of a shove while I'm doing this. A really nice brake pedal on the car, nice and solid and powerful. No pulsing or vibrations coming back through the pedal at all. Finally, coming inside, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I completely understand that. What is without doubt is the build quality. They are beautifully put together cars. It's in lovely condition in here as well for a car of this age. But there's no squeaks or groans. But I love the interior because, first and foremost, I love the interior colouring. They've kind of copied from BMW, kind of the silver trim and the black going together, but it works really, really well. Because even on, dull, dark days, it brightens you up, especially with the glass roof above my head. And on blisteringly hot days, and trust me, it is the hottest day of the year so far outside, you don't get that absolutely oven-like feeling when you've got full black interiors. But my favourite is just the whole feeling. When you get in the car, there's a few cars you get into where you actually feel quite special. They're different, but without being, overdone, where it's just, so obviously trying to look wacky. I just don't get those. This is designed for a purpose, but it happens to look brilliant. The most conventional part is just a whacking great big radio, which for technophobes like me is brilliant. You just press buttons like Fisher Price and it works fantastically well. But then you've got this dash kind of binnacle and surrounding controls. I mean, ergonomically it's fantastic. Either side, very symmetrical. You've got these little control panels, which those who've driven S2000s will recognise straight away that it looks very similar, but so your hands are literally just there. So you've got climate control on this side, and that pumps out absolutely ice cold air. And as I said, it's 33 degrees, and in the morning, this officially is going to be the day in which we break all our records for temperatures. So it is toasty indeed, and that is ice cold, as I said. All the switchgear feels fantastically well manufactured. It really does. It's beautifully engineered. On this side here, you've got obviously the engine modes and electrical mirror stuff. But then you've got this fantastic instrumentation binnacle. It's got it reminds me in some ways of kind of like an arcade. The colouring, the graphics, but in a really nice way. It's kind of cheeky, but it gives you all the information you need. But it's totally different the whole feeling is you sit in the car. As I mentioned in the walk around video, you've got to think of this car purely as a two-seater car. Forget the back seats. They're a joke, in all honesty. So if you're thinking of possibly having sort of 4 adults, forget it. It is not the car for that. It's a two-seater car with a ton of space when you put the seats down. So that's the way to view it. But when you get in, you've got this perfect driving position. You're sitting at exactly the right points on the road. Everything around you is concentrated on the driver to make them concentrate on driving. But what they do touch and look at is just a joy to behold. In a world of utterly sterile, dull, conformist cars, I think these are still wonderful, wonderful vehicles. And I cannot fault the driver of this car in any way, shape or form. It drives absolutely perfectly. As always though, if you've got any questions about the car, don't hesitate to give us a call.